arm wrestle for it. Go on.
Hi, I'm Chantal, and really excited to be here. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And thanks for being so nice, everyone. You're all so friendly, and you've only made me cry once. I'm not Carmen Tiara. Not. I just play her. My Little Pony, season 5. Very exciting. And some other things you might know me from shows, Dragon Tales, Hamtaro, Gundam Seed.
Woo! Marcus!
Yeah, I look forward to chatting with you. Please don't ask anything too tricky. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kira. I play Izuma Kamiki in Blue Exorcist. Anime and Excel World, Renbo Gyoku and Maki Labyrinth of Magic, recently announced Hydrabel in Bloodlad, Madoka Kyono in Lagrange. I'm in some video games you may have heard of. I'm the final boss in Skullgirls, Marie. I'm Artemia in Bravely Default. I'm
That guy really likes that. He's your biggest fan. I'm Brina Palencia, you're probably, no, I'm kidding. Someone laughed like, no, you're not Brina. No, I know. Hi, I'm J Michael Tatum, I'm a voice actor and writer, and yeah, thank you, go ahead. Okay, calm down, seriously. This is too much. I've done quite a few things. I have voice acted in a lot of stuff, mostly anime. Yeah, I also do quite a bit of adaptive writing. Most recently, you can see me on television, or not see me, but you can hear me on television as Dr. Gel in Space Dandy. Which is awesome. I get to tell my mother, see, you have nothing to worry about. Your son plays a giant purple wig-wearing space geek. Told you I'd be okay. And I'm Irvin in Attack on Titan, which I also got the pleasure to adapt. Sebastian and Black Butler. That shows like a magic word. Black Butler. One day I'm going to be like an old lady in a nursing home and I'm going to be like, Black Butler, what? Yes, so, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to open the floor to questions. Now we have a mic right out front, so what I'd like you to do when I give you the word is very calmly and politely form a line in front of the microphone and we'll let you ask your questions. Before we get started with questions though, let me lay a couple of ground rules. Please keep requests to a minimum. I know like you're like, hey, please do this and say this in voice, and that's fine. We're fine to do a little bit of that. But some of the voices we do are actually rather difficult on the vocal cords, and we still have another day of this and probably work on Monday. So please help us keep doing our job by just keeping the requests to a minimum if you don't mind. Also, please let us stay up here and you down there. We're very lazy. So don't ask us to call your cousins, sisters, roommates, hairdressers, dog walker, and marry them in Sebastian's voice, please. And this is not the time for autographs or any of that stuff. It's just an open forum Q&A. So let's just have a dialogue. Yes. Awesome. So if anyone's got a question, come on up to the mic. Will you do that again, please? That was really nice. Strong. Very strong. What's your name?
My name is Jakari, and this question's for Artemia up there. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to say anything in her voice. Hers is very raspy. I'm pretty sure it's horrible. Honestly, I just wanted to, I aspire to be what you guys are, so I just really want to know, where'd you start? Give us a little tale of your beginning.
Well, I think everyone starts off differently in voice acting, like kind of a different journey and a different story. I personally started voice acting online. for a lot of years, and I knew I wanted to do it professionally, but I didn't live in the right place at the time, so I was kind of just like, you know, training, practicing, taking acting classes where I could, things like that. And then I moved out and, you know, tried to actually make it happen.
Thank you.
So, my name is Nick, and while you're voice acting in anime, do you also lend your singing voices in the anime as well?
I do, yes. Sometimes when the occasion calls for it, I enjoy it, yeah. Sometimes they want a bit of a different sound, so they'll go with an actual, you know, a professional singer, but yes, I like to sing when I can. Diamond Tiara had a little singing part in one of the episodes last season, so it was really fun, yeah.
I'm terrified of singing, so I try never to do it. I try to do it. No, really, I don't. I'm not a singer. I'm not a singer. And when I've had to do it, it's been like my character having to do like a song that doesn't have to be good because it's in character. So then that's okay. But no, I've never actually done a musical number. There was the closing credit sequence for Aurora High School Host Club. Everyone for a long time thought that was me singing the English version. It's not. It's someone with a good voice. It would have been very different had it been me.
I love doing character singing, but I've only gotten a chance to do it twice. And one of them was supposed to be bad on purpose. It was for a show called The Grunge, and my character sings like this really obnoxious theme song that she makes up for the club. So it was like kind of fun getting to be bad with that, I guess. And then I had a little singing part in Nara.
That's awesome.
Thank you for your question.
By the way, Dr. J, I'm going to name it Justice.
Justice Michael Tatum. That's a lot of pressure. I don't know I can live up to that. I started telling people it's just. So people are like, what do we call you? J Michael? I'm like, it's just Michael. It's just Michael. Yeah, I'm a writer. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sophie, and I'm so excited to see you guys.
I couldn't tell.
I have a question for J Michael Tatum. So, have you started recording for Attack on Titan yet?
Oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, I mean, yes. I am done.
So, how has it been playing as Erwin?
Well, I got to write the adaptive scripts, which were done about 6 months prior to the scripts actually going to Boothworth for them, and I had no idea that I'd be playing anybody in the show. I usually think, oh my god, I'm going to write this really, really difficult line that's really hard to say at the top of your voice. I'm like, wait, I'm playing that guy? Damn it. Irvin's really, I mean, he's cool. I love, the show itself is astonishing. Like, when I sat down to watch it, to do my prep work for the writing process, I was just like, like episode 1, right out the gate, I'm like, no, don't, and it just kept getting better and better in one of those shows. I'm like, you know, from episode to episode, you don't know who's going to live or who's going to die. It's like Game of Thrones, only with giant, junkless, toddler-like titans trying to kill you. Which are a horrifying creation, by the way. Every time I see one of those, I'm like, oh, those are really, not a lot bothers me or like gets to me, but those things do. Which is all to say that when the time came to actually voice the English version of Erwin, I was ready for it, because I want Titans to die. They're mean and they're evil and they eat people's moms. And it's not right. We can't let that happen. But yeah, it was funny. For a while, I kind of felt like every line of Erwin's was like, all right, we're all going to die. Who's with me? Like, awesome. More of you than I thought. Let's do this. That's every Erwin line. But yeah, it's a great honor to work on that show, because I think Attack on Titan is it's one of those big shows that will be remembered as like that wave of anime popularity, like right up there with like the Star Blazers era, and then you had the Pokemon era, and then the Dragon Ball era, and then Cowboy Bebop, and now we have Attack on Titan. So it's kind of cool to be like, oh yes, this is the 21st century's like big wave. So it's great to be part of it. It's a great show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And can I make a tiny request, Mr. Tatum?
A tiny request? of course. You're so adorable.
Please say something you'd say to Tommy in Kelly's voice for my friend.
Oh, there she is. What would
Tommy, I promise.
Uh-huh, yeah, I see you back there. Oh, what would Kelly say? There's so many things Kelly would say to Tamaki because Tamaki is a complicated friend.
Something about the mother father.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes, the line that took me like 20 tries to get right because Caitlin Gaskins. No, stop, Tatum, it's still too sexy. What is it now, Daddy? Oh, that line still gets me every time. I'm like, I have no context for that line, but it's sexy. Okay, so we're just gonna say it straight. All right, what is it now, Daddy? What is it now, Daddy? Thank you, sweetheart. You're adorable.
That's an ongoing problem, isn't it? Sounding too sexy.
I assure you it's not. When you have a line like, what is it now, Daddy? I'm like, what is it now, Daddy? She's like, no, it's not. I mean, when do you ever use that in real life? When it's not going to be a thing? I never have ever used it for anything but just being straightforward and like, hey, Dad. I'm going to shut up now before I take myself totally in a hole I cannot get out of. Hi, darling, how are you? Save me, please.
My name's Christina, and I've been doing some casual voice acting on the internet with a friend of mine for dramatic readings of bad fan comics. And I was wondering, what kind of voice exercises do you do before you begin a session in order to get in the show?
Good question.
Well, I like to sing along in the car to the radio. It's really fun. Yeah. People give me some weird looks, but that's okay.
How do you own it when people see you at stoplights? When you're like,
Yeah, oh, I just rock it. I'm just like, they're like, okay, well, I want what she's having. But no, other than that, I rehearse a lot of my lines too beforehand, and it just kind of gets me in the pocket. Right? Yeah. But nothing really too specific. It's just pretty casual.
Okay. Yeah. I do the same thing that Chantal does, but I think I get weirder looks because I sing Frozen songs, so like, let it go! And they're like, what?
But everyone is singing along to that right now, so you're not the only one.
the other person judging you is like, oh,
Like-
weirdo. And then you drive off and then like turn up the radio. Let it go! Hypocrite! I do this thing, I don't often sing in the car, because I find that I'm not very good at it, but I do often listen to like talk radio, and I will try to follow what is being said like by like a word difference. It's almost like you're simulcasting or something. I'll be like, hello, 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 and it's weird. So I look really strange in the car, because I don't look like I'm singing, I just look like I'm talking to no one. And I'll look at me like,
Maybe you can have Bluetooth.
yeah, maybe I think I have a Bluetooth, or like I should get like a crayon. And just like, it's like pretend Bluetooth, because then people are like, okay, we're not gonna look at him because he's crazy.
You need to just put some non-toxic paint on it and just put it in your ear and then make a fake Bluetooth or something.
Awesome, I'm gonna do that. Phone
That would
for
work.
Bluetooth. Thank you, darling, for your question.
Hi. I'm short.
We can help you with that. Well, with the mic, not with being short. You're stuck. There's nothing wrong with being short. I'm a tall person. It sucks.
Well, I'm the cute one
Right.
in the
Hmm?
I'm the little cute.
You're a fun size.
Yes,
I'm with you, Shar. I'm with you.
You know what problem you'll never
We're
have?
lowering the mic.
You know what problem you guys will never have? Running in a fire sprinkler.
For younger, higher pitched characters, because I guess like it's something that I've always been able to do for the most part. Sometimes they're not that much higher, like Izuma wasn't a whole lot higher than my voice, but I made her more nasally. Whereas like Sayonji from Danganronpa 2 was like way up here, so. Thank you.
or all of ours? All everyone. You guys should do it too.
Right now.
The best moment. Well, probably when I got the part of Cassie the Dragon on Dragon Tales. That was kind of my first big part. And the worst part was when the show ended. There were reruns. I relive it through. All the time. No, I'm kidding.
It's hard to choose one best moment. I think probably one of my favorites was booking Danganronpa 2 because I've been a big fan of the games and the series, and I was really familiar with all the characters already and stuff, and I just really wanted to be in it, but I didn't know that it was going to happen. And then I got an email and they're like, "Hi, we want you to play Hyogo Sayonji." And I'm like, what? I really love this game. So I think getting to do something that you're a fan of is really, really cool. Worst moment, definitely the recasting thing I mentioned earlier. It's, yeah.
Okay, this is kind of a long story. Shocking, I know. But I worked on a show a couple of years ago called Steins Gate. So those of you who've seen the show will know what I'm talking about. And those of you that haven't, oh my God, go watch it, treat yourself, be better people. Kidding. It really is an amazing show, and Steins Gate is one of those things that when I got the chance to work on it first as a lead adaptive writer, well, that was awesome enough because Patrick Seitz and I got to team up. I love working with Patrick Seitz. He's a brilliant actor, brilliant writer, and he and I were both huge fans of the show. And then later when I got cast as Okabe, the lead character, who is a true lead in the sense that he is literally in every single scene, I think but 2 in the entire show, and he never shuts up. Part I was born to play, really. But it's a very emotional show. Without giving too much detail away, it's essentially about the psychological repercussions of time travel and what can happen when you kind of screw things up in the past and now the future is different and blah, 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 blah. It's a very realistic treatment of what would happen if, sort of thing. And the show starts out kind of funny and you know, a little off-kilter, and it's really, really great. The characters are kind of nerdy and geeky, so I can certainly relate to them. And then about halfway through, things get devastatingly dark as the consequences of what they're going through start hitting home. And when I wrote the scripts with Patrick, I got really emotionally invested in the show, obviously. It's just such a good show to begin with, but I was like, there's this one particular scene where I'm not going to give anything away for those who haven't seen it, but there's essentially a moment where the main character, who up till now has been this very arrogant, over-the-top, silly, sort of madcap character who styles himself a mad scientist, but he's really just kind of a nobody who's pretending, and his friends kind of keep him around because he's the sort of person who's fun to watch wear out. And suddenly things take this really dark turn, and he has to become very real, very human, and he is in this moment where he is essentially crying, pleading for the life of his friend at peril to his own. And it's the first time we've really seen him in that position where he suddenly just, the veneer of arrogance and silliness completely falls away, and he's desperately, like, ugly crying and just begging them, you know, please don't do this, I'm nothing, just don't do what you're about to do, please don't do this, because he knows what the consequences are going to be, and they're dire. I had to write this scene, and when I wrote this scene, I had a crying fit, as you do, because I'm like, oh my God, this scene is so good! And I write this scene, and I'm thinking, man, I do not envy the poor bastard that's got to do this. Oh shit, it's me. So, about 3 months later, that scene hit, and I knew it was coming. So, but you have to imagine, too, that I could not get away from Okabe mentally as an actor. That's weird. I'd never been in a situation where my days consisted of about 8 hours in the booth recording Okabe, and she's always at the top of his voice, always at 10. And he's always either like just laughing or crying or screaming, something. He's just always just very high energy, which is exhausting. And then I'd come home and write the show for another 5 hours. So like this was just my life. Everyone in my life knew like you're just going to be Okabe for about 5 months while you're doing this, and we love you, but let us know when Michael is back. So I go and record this particular scene, and this was the worst day of my career. I go and record this scene, knowing what's going to happen. I've written the adaptation. and I get into it, and something just snaps. I'm in the moment so heavily that something just happens, and that really precarious line between me and the character I'm playing just disappears, and I start having a mental meltdown in the booth. Like, I start crying and ad-libbing lines, like, just that aren't working because my head is so stuck in the show that I'm like in tears, like telling them, please don't do this, don't kill my friend, don't do that, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And it was this weird little moment where like Colleen Klinkenberg, the show's wonderful director, was like, honey, are you? And I'm like, and I literally like cowered in the booth and was crying. I was so embarrassed and confused. It was just this weird, weird moment. And I had to get up and leave. And that was an intense day because I felt like, what happened? What happened? That's never happened. That's one of the tricks of acting, is making sure that that line doesn't get crossed, because then it stops being acting and becomes psychotic. And so I kind of splashed water on my face and you know, had some coffee, and after about 15-20 minutes kind of, you know, walked around the studio a little bit, just kind of people looking at me, like, don't look at me, don't look at me. Finally got my musters to go in. Same day, best day of my career, was walking in the booth and Colleen, all right, let's do this again. She's like, no, so we were saving all of that, all of it worked, and we're keeping it. So if you want to hear me have a mental breakdown, watch episode 13 of Steins Gate. That's real. That's real.
Bonjour, France.
Oh, est-ce que vous comprenez français? You're like, no, I've just been rehearsing that one line all day. Bonjour, mademoiselle. How are you, sweetie?
I'm good. This is my second time meeting you, and I'm just so glad to see you again.
Oh, when have I met you before? You do look familiar.
Zach Anime.
It's coming back to me now.
I guess the only question I can come up with, I guess for any of you can answer this, is do you recommend any classes of sorts to take if you want to get more?
And you know, you can work your way into it too. That's what I did. Kind of just, yeah.
And if you don't like somewhere with specific voiceover workshops, I always tell people just take acting classes, theater, improv classes, anything where you're acting, because learning to do different voices is something you can kind of develop on your own, but learning to act and getting that feedback and criticism, that's something really important.
And it's great, like, she was saying, you know, there aren't any like workshops in your area. There's always going to be like community theater or something to just go. And theater is a great place to like find yourself, because you can literally just show up to a theater group and be like, hey, I can help you like build sets, and they will put you to work. They'll be like, yeah, sure, come join us, and then you kind of build contacts that way, and then maybe after a while you get to audition or something. I mean, it's wonderful. They're gypsies. They'll take anyone. You know, like, I'm going to say, if you show up with an earnestness to try to work for them, you know, to help them hang a scrim or build a set or paint or something, they can always use the help, and that's a great way to kind of watch other actors do their thing and slowly but surely find out where the workshops are and things like that. So it's half the fun of the acting is the lifestyle you have to lead in order to do it, because we all kind of live crazily. We all have weird schedules. We all are learning constantly. We're going to workshops, we're hobnobbing, networking with people. It's a crazy life. It is not a 9-to-5 job, and it will never be a 9-to-5 job. It's its own weird little creature, and you have to love the life. So, good luck to you if that's what you intend to do.
Thank you, Bossy.
Cool.
Hello, my name's Toby, and she kind of asked a similar question. I also have a voice acting question. How did you guys start out, and what would you recommend to somebody who wants to be like discovered or whatnot?
Well, I kind of stumbled into the industry when I was like 5 years old. My twin sister and I, Michelle, we were chosen by stunt coordinators to be stunt doubles in this movie called Look Who's Talking. Yeah, we were 5 years old, and they basically just said to us, oh, you have great, you know, set etiquette, and you should get an agent. So we did at 6 years old, and my agent just had good sort of connections to the voice end of things and started sending me out when I was around 11, and yeah, I just kind of worked my way in and learned as I went and took lots of classes and watched and listened, and yeah, that's how I started out.
I do the same thing, like watch and listen to things around you, and if you're just like playing a video game or this and that, you can, you know, like kind of experiment trying to do voices and stuff, and definitely take acting classes if you can. Try to get feedback from people around you. There's also some really great online communities you can join. And now, even if you don't or you're not ready to live where the work is, you can do like a lot of indie games and things like that, student films and YouTube animations, those sorts of things. A lot of them need voice talent, and a lot of it might not be paying or might be kind of little, but if you're just starting out, it's a really, really good experience to kind of like learn how to audition from home. Because sometimes you will audition from home in the industry. Like a lot of the shows that I work on now, I audition from home and then I go in and I get the part. So knowing how to like record and have that set up and stuff, it's really useful in a lot of ways.
I found my way in the industry in a really, really weird way. I was tricked into it. And I'm not kidding. So I had been an actor when I was very little and very young. I was a stage kid. I was on stage all the time. Like I was talking about my speech therapist earlier, she had ties to the theater and she found that, hey, if we get you a script, you're reciting it, stuff disappears. So I found acting that way. I loved being on stage. But when the time came much later to decide upon like a career path, I decided against acting because it takes a very courageous person to be an actor, and I'm not a very courageous person, so I did something safe. Went on a whole other career that incidentally I wasn't very happy in. So about